On Campus is brought to you by the UWI Mona, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. On Campus, a weekly look at what's happening on the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. On Campus today, we explore the traditional medicines in the islands network. There's our regular campus calendar, but first, UE News. The UWI's Office of Administration is pleased to announce the appointment of Dr. Francis Severin to act as Principal of the Open Campus and Althea Gordon's appointment as Campus Registrar. Dr. Camille Samuel has been appointed as Deputy Campus Registrar at the UWI St. Augustine Campus and Jonathan Archie as Deputy Campus Registrar at the UWI Mona Campus. These appointments were announced at the recently held Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting and take effect from August 1. Dr. Tressan Kramer, who also joins the list of new appointees, will serve as the Director of the Institute of Criminal Justice and Security. This appointment was approved at the annual business meeting of the University Council and took effect on June 1. The UWI wishes them the best in their new roles. The University of the West Indies Press is pleased to announce that 4 of its published books have recently earned recognition by 2 international publishing awards, the Independent Publisher Book Awards, IPI, and the American International Book Awards. On June 9, 2 UE Press books were announced as bronze medalists at the annual IPI Awards. Beyond Homophobia, Centering LGBTQ Experiences in the Anglophone Caribbean, edited by Moji Anderson and Erin MacLeod, and Revivalism, Representing an Afro-Jamaican Identity by Maria Robinson Smith. The former was awarded in the LGBTQ non-fiction category, while the latter was awarded in the Religion Eastern-Western category. Closely following those awards, the American Book Fest then announced 3 UE Press books as finalists in its 2021 International Book Awards. Beyond Homophobia, Centering LGBTQ Experiences in the Anglophone Caribbean, was named in the LGBTQ non-fiction category. Plantation Coffee in Jamaica, 1790 to 1848 by Kathleen Monteith, was named in the History General category, and Annie Paul's Stuart Hall was named in the Biography General category. Over the past 2.5 decades, UE Press books and authors have received over 100 local, national, and international awards and recognitions. These awards have been given for scholarly, editorial design, production, and marketing excellence. The Traditional Medicines in the Islands Study, TRAMIL, is an investigative project that explores popular traditional medicines in Caribbean countries in an effort to provide scientific validation of their use for primary health care. Dr. David Picking, Research Fellow at the UWI's Natural Products Institute, NPI, recently contributed to this study. On today's program, Dr. Picking shares details on TRAMIL and his related discoveries across the Jamaican landscape.
You recently contributed to the Traditional Medicines in the Islands TRAMIL study. What is the study about?
Okay, so just to give it some context, the Traditional Medicines in the Islands, or TRAMIL, is a group of scientists who've been working probably more than 20 years now in the Caribbean region. And this includes both islands, but also land-based countries that are bordering the Caribbean basin. And the focus is on the use of traditional medicine in primary health care. So their primary goal, and as I said, it's a group of scientists, so from medical practitioners through to pharmacologists, through to people that study the relationship between people and plants, so like ethnobotanists, ethnobiologists. So it's a very broad spectrum, multidisciplinary group, a voluntary group as well. So it includes a lot of universities, but also people working in private entities as well.
What are some of your findings in relation to these medicinal plants, or some of the medicinal plants that we traditionally use in Jamaica?
Okay, so we interviewed, we actually did interviews with somewhere like 400 people. So we literally went into a number of areas, both urban and rural, and we did house-to-house interviews. And what we found was, as we would expect, we found a very high level of knowledge across different areas. And we found a significant number, over 100, I think it was 116 medicinal plants people identified to us that they use on a regular basis. And one of the other things that was particularly interesting in the Jamaican context, and probably common to the Caribbean, there's a real emphasis on using plants not just to treat illness, but also to maintain health. And for me, because I trained as a medical herbalist and a naturopath in the UK, to me that's really exciting because it shows people are very proactive in how they use plants. As I say, not just to treat illness, but also to keep themselves healthy. So the way that the TRAMIL methodology works is, as I say, you shortlist the plants that people repeatedly report for a particular health condition. So for example, in Jamaica, a lot of people reported using medicinal plants for nerves and insomnia. And what we found was that one plant was consistently mentioned. So out of, say we interviewed 300 people and 200 people mentioned that they used a plant to help with their sleep or for anxiety or nerves. Out of those 200, 75% mentioned the same plant. So what that tells you as a scientist is this plant probably actually has something going for it. It probably means that it actually does work. And then you can start to drill down into the science of the plant to look at, what research exists on that plant, what are the phytochemicals that have been identified, is the plant safe, as I've mentioned, and then that information for those plants that are consistently mentioned for the same health condition, they get shortlisted. And so in the Jamaican research, we shortlisted, I think it was 14 plants were shortlisted and submitted to the TRAMIL database.
That was research fellow at the UWI's Natural Products Institute, Dr. David Picking. We'll hear more from him after the break, but first let's take a look at our campus calendar. The Mona Academy of Sport invites you to register for its Sport Performance and Management Workshop slated for tomorrow, July 19, beginning at 8 in the morning. The workshop will include several noteworthy presenters, including the Dean of the Faculty of Sport, Dr. Akshay Mansingh. Topics will include sports ethics, doping control, the international standards, observational biomechanics and athletes assessment, concussion and video analysis, and recognizing and managing overtraining and burnout. To register, call 876-858-0783 or 876-839-3441. The cost for the workshop is $10,000. CMEs have been requested. We now continue the discussion with producer Tashika Taylor and research fellow at the UWI's Natural Products Institute, Dr. David Picking, as he shares details on the traditional medicines in the islands network and its related survey in Jamaica.
Are there plans for further study into the medicinal properties of these plants?
Yeah, I mean, the research on medicinal plants is ongoing, and there's so much work that we want to do and that people are doing. So TRAMIL is excellent in a sense because it's an online, what we call a pharmacopoeia. So this is a repository of information and knowledge. So anybody, it's free to access, TRAMIL.net will get you into the TRAMIL website, and you can look up alphabetically plants. And where plants have been shortlisted and there's more information, you can drill down into more detail on those plants, what information exists. What are the recommended uses? So, where people have consistently recommended and it's been found based on the research that TRAMIL has done, they'll come up with a plant for a particular health condition. So you might have a plant that is mentioned for 5 or 6 health conditions, and TRAMIL will say, yeah, okay, it's recommended for 3, but we haven't got enough data to support recommending it for the other 2. And they will also be very careful about saying, which part of the plant and the type of preparation. Because as a lot of people will know, one part of a plant might be safe to use, another part of the plant may actually be toxic. So again, you have to be consistent in the rigor with which you report information.
You also mentioned a few publications that came out of the TRAMIL study. Tell us about these publications and then where persons can find them.
Yeah, so we actually did something slightly different with the TRAMIL survey we did in Jamaica, because we captured information also about where people use plants if they were in addition using pharmaceutical drugs at the same time. So, because that's a critical part of safety and the safe use of medicinal plants. So the first paper that we published from the TRAMIL survey was actually a report on, which plants were used in combination with pharmaceutical drugs and the potential implications for that. So that's kind of aimed more at healthcare professionals. So that was the first paper. And then the second paper was really focusing on, which plants made the short list, what were the most common preparation methods, where did people get their information from? Was it from grandparents? Was it mothers, fathers? Was it from the internet? All of that information is in that second paper. Those papers, you can access them. Some of them are restricted, but actually they're all available and accessible through ResearchGate. So if readers look up ResearchGate, if they look up myself, for example, David Picking, on ResearchGate, then they will be able to access those TRAMIL, at least those two TRAMIL papers and other papers.
Research Fellow at the UWI's Natural Products Institute, Dr. David Picking, speaking with our producer Tashika Taylor about the traditional medicines in the islands network and its survey in Jamaica. For more information on traditional medicines in the island, visit www.tramil.net. And that's On Campus for today. To stay connected to the UWI Mona, home of the Pelicans, or to apply to UWI Mona, visit us online at www.mona.uwi.edu or like our official Facebook page at www.facebook.com/UWI Mona. The University of the West Indies, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. If you have suggestions for this program, please contact the Marketing, Recruitment and Communications Office, University of the West Indies, Mona, Kingston 7, or email us at marketing.communications@uwimona.edu.jm. On Campus was produced by Tashika Taylor. I'm Sean Markien. On Campus is a production of the Marketing, Recruitment and Communications Office of the University of the West Indies, Mona, and is recorded in the Media Lab of the University Archives at the UWI Regional Headquarters.